Sophomore year of college, I lived in my sorority house on campus. Now, it must be known that there has been a long Greek life story that the village, that's what we call it the Greek village, was haunted. I think sometime in the 90s, there was a sorority girl who went to go pick up her car and ended up being murdered by a man who dressed up as a police officer. It was this huge thing. So this sorority girl was murdered, and then another time a sorority girl was killed in a car accident, and it was horrible. We would always do presentations about the girl that had passed away so that people don't drink and drive and all that stuff. So it was a huge thing for Greek life. So there had been multiple deaths that have happened with sorority girls before. And I'm pretty sure that there was a fraternity guy who also died because he was left in the cold one night when he was drunk and passed away. But I can't remember exactly when that was or even what fraternity it was. I think the fraternity was expelled from campus, so they were no longer there. But anyway, so there's been a lot of death, a lot of tragedy through Greek life. So I think you can kind of see a theme here of negative energy. Paranormal beings thrive off of negative energy. Like, I remember being told that this girl in a sorority house literally saw a ghost in the sorority house because it was one of the girls who had passed away. And they freaked out. They ran across the whole Greek village. I just will never forget that story. And the girl is so adamant that it happened. And I believe her because it was crazy. So anyway, kind of to tie things together, my sorority house was actually attached to my best friend Jill's sorority house. I was in Alpha Chi Omega and she was in AO Pi, which is Alpha Omicron Pi. So it was pretty cool that our houses were connected because we were roommates freshman year and we could literally just go through this door and go to each other's houses, and it was super cool. So one of the long-lasting paranormal theories is that AO Pi's founding father is lingering in the house and gets mad that Alpha Chi Omega is tied to the house because of their ritual. Now, here's the thing, is that every sorority has a ritual. I'm not gonna lie, personally, my sorority's ritual it has nothing to do with hazing, which is a huge problem. My sorority never did anything like that. I like to say that my sorority was kind of like chilling with the bros. Like, we were just not really girly girls. Like, sure, we had girly girls in the sorority, but you know, there was a joke around campus that we were like the bruh girls. So nothing happened in my sorority. I can't say that for other sororities, but I don't think that Jill's sorority was like that either. But we do have rituals. We do have initiation ritual, and it's literally just a bunch of singing and weird shit, and it's fun. And that was basically it. But the story is that the ghost, her name is Stella, lives in the Aopai house, and whenever Alpha Chi Omega has a ritual, she gets pissed off and becomes more active. So Jill and I would joke around and we would be like, "Oh, Stella, where you at, girl?" All this shit. Well, as you may know, naming ghosts is not a good thing because then that gives them more energy. So one day, Jill and I are just sitting there. We had just moved into the sorority homes. We were sitting downstairs, and her and I were joking around, and we're like, "Stella, if you're here, do something." Nothing had happened, so her and I were like, "Stella, Stella, Stella." And I am not kidding you. All of a sudden, these battery-operated candles flickered. And they had never done that before. And someone had just come downstairs, and they were like, "Did you guys see that flicker?" And I was like, "What flicker?" And they had just come down from the hallway. And so apparently the light in the hallway flickered too. And so Jill and I immediately started freaking out. And we're like, "We're never doing that again." And it was a great start to the year. So now I'm going to get started with a little bit of backstory for the Alpha Chi Omega house. I am not aware that there have been any deaths in the Alpha Chi Omega house. but it has been known that there has been a lot of paranormal activity in the house. So one time, one of my actual close friends, her name is Taylor, she was telling me that when she lived in the Alpha Chi house, one night she woke up and literally had scratches on her chest. Now, of course, everyone started freaking out because everyone knows that the house is haunted and blah, 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 blah. But Taylor, at the time, was obviously scared. But I had recently talked to her about a year ago, and we were talking about all the paranormal stuff. And she's like, I don't think that it was actually paranormal. I probably just scratched myself in my sleep. You know, I do kind of agree that could have happened. But just for the sake of we like interesting things, we're just going to say that it happened because of a ghost. There was another time that another girl I talked to, who I actually do not like, she was telling everybody that when she lived in the house, she woke up one time at 3 a.m., which of course is the devil's hour, went to the bathroom, and when she was in the bathroom, she saw something in the mirror. Now, I can tell you that mirrors are my worst fear. I swear to God, if I ever see a ghost in a mirror, that's it for me. I can't. I cannot deal with mirrors. So obviously that story really scared the crap out of me. I don't know if it's true or not, but she did seem very scared when she was telling it. So I do think there is some sort of truth to that. But like I said, these are other people, and so I can't say if they're true or not. So one of the scariest things that actually happened to me in my actual bedroom in the sorority house. One night we were all watching a scary movie, which we would always do. We had these big red couches in the sorority house, and so all of us would sit there and we would watch movies all the time. So we finished this movie, and I don't remember if the movie was Lights Out. I think it was Lights Out. I can't remember. But whatever movie we watched had to do with knocking. 3 knocks meant that you were going to die. So we finished the movie, we're all a little on edge. I go upstairs into my bedroom, and I should note that at this point in time, I am living alone because I had 2 other roommates. One of my roommates moved out to become an RA, and my other roommate was unfortunately in a horrible crash and had been out for months. And so I was living alone. I was in bed, and I was about to fall asleep as I hear 3 knocks on the wall that is furthest away from me. Now, it should be noted that this wall is a connecting wall to another room, which happened to be my friend Amanda's room, who had watched the movie with me. So I immediately get up to go rough her up because she's one of my best friends too. She was in my wedding as well. I love her. So I get up and I'm about to be like, Amanda, I'm going to beat you up. And so I walk out into the hallway. I turn to the right and the door is wide open to her room and it is pitch black. And I am telling you, I freaked out. And I will tell you that yes, there was no way that she could have escaped because the floors are super creaky. Like if she had knocked on that wall and then like ran to go hide, I would have heard it. So then, of course, I call her. Oh, and guess what? She is at her boyfriend's fraternity house. So obviously, I started freaking out. I ran upstairs into my twin's room. Her name is Hannah. And I run up to her room and I'm crying. There's nobody in that room. There were 3 knocks on my wall and I'm freaking out. So I will say that actually was one of the scariest experiences that I had. And I did talk to Jill about it. Her and I truly think that Stella was messing with us. I don't think it was a weird paranormal spirit that's lingering. I honestly think that whatever it was just basically messing around with me. Another really scary story that happened to me, which I think this is actually the scariest thing to happen to me. One night, Amanda and I were doing some crafts for Big Little, which is when you get a little sister or get a big sister, which is supposed to be like a mentor for you. And so we're up at like 2 a.m. We're crafting and we're downstairs on the main floor. And on the main floor, there is a bedroom for the president of the sorority, who actually happened to be my big. So my big was the president, and she let us use her room downstairs because she was actually at her boyfriend's house. At the time, Amanda was dating a former boyfriend, and he was over as well with a friend. So this night was just crazy in general, and that's why I think so much stuff happened because, like I said, negative energy. They feed off of negative energy. So what had happened is that we were downstairs, we were crafting, and I ended up going upstairs to go get more supplies. I get a phone call from Amanda and she's crying. And I was like, what is going on? And she said that her boyfriend had let a random man into the sorority house because he asked to use the restroom. And mind you, we're like the only people in the house right now because nobody was there. So I come downstairs and I open the door, and immediately I see this man sitting at a table with my friend and the two guys. All I hear from him is how he's talking about how he's God and how he wanted to show them something. So then, of course, I'm freaked out and the door behind me slams and the man turns around and Amanda is like, no, don't worry. That's my friend. Like, she's nice. She'll be here for you. So I immediately go into my Big's room, which is the president's room, and I shut the door and I start crying, call my Big because she's also the RA of the sorority house. She's not answering. And I'm like, oh my God, we're going to fucking die. This is it. Like, I am dead. I really thought that I was going to die. So then Amanda comes into the room. She starts crying. We call my Big's boyfriend, who's also an RA, and finally someone picks up, and I told them about what was happening. The guy ended up using the restroom. An RA came over, which was my Big's boyfriend, who is now her husband. He came, he got the man out, and they left. So obviously Amanda and I are really scared from this. Her boyfriend and the guy end up leaving because they were kind of like, yeah, I think it's best that we go. And we're like, yeah, I think it's best that you go too. We're just going to hang out here and kind of decompress because that was just really scary. So they say goodbye. They left. And Amanda and I went to go back into the president's room. I kid you not when I say these doors are heavy doors. These doors do not move on their own. They are heavy. There were no windows open. Nothing. Okay? I'm just telling you that right now. So Amanda and I walk into the room, and immediately the door slams behind us. And her and I are already hyped from extreme adrenaline because we thought we were going to die. As soon as that door closed, her and I just started screaming. We started jumping. We were like, what is going on? This is absolutely crazy. And I will never, ever forget that moment. That was probably the scariest moment of my life. I seriously cannot explain it to you that no windows were open. We were the only people in that damn house. Nothing could have closed that door. It seriously, and it slammed. And neither one of us even touched it. We just went into the room to go get our stuff to go to bed. Crazy. That's all I can say. Crazy. And the fact that it happened while somebody else was there with me makes it all the better because I have a witness to say that this literally happened. So yeah, that was sophomore year and it was insane. And I, to this day, will never forget how scary that was. Now it's time for junior year.